Hello, everybody. It's the Spice Must Flow. I'm back again. Obviously, it happened again. Now we have the London bridges falling down situation. I don't know what to say. I've seen several folks out there who are basically saying, hey, Britain, has had several of these terrorist attacks, basically in the last 100 days. Okay, tons of people are getting killed. You know, uh, and the truth is, yes, I'm well aware with the whole population of Britain, right? The numbers killed are relatively small. However, that being said, that would be kind of like saying, well, in a city of 500,000, only 200 people get killed a year. Oh, so we're just not gonna solve those murders. We're not gonna try to like get the criminals. We're not gonna try to run investigations because only 200 people die in a year, and it's comparatively that's a small number if you have a city of 500,000. They're just not gonna do that. And that's the same logic of saying, oh well, it's not very many people, or the ridiculous mayor of London who says terrorism is just a part of living in a big city. Yeah, they don't have very much of it in Tokyo, do they? Krakow, Poland, Warsaw. What do all three of those cities have in common? Oh yeah, that's right. There aren't hardly any Muslims there, right? Now here's the thing, though, right? Several people have been like, we need to basically just write them off. Okay, these people, they won't save themselves, and so it would be like if you had a woman who was getting beat by her husband, right, and then or boyfriend, whoever, right, and then the next day she was defending him. She didn't want to leave. You were like, no, you need to get out now. We have this women's shelter over here. You've got to get there, okay? And she was like, no, I love him, right? And it was like some sort of white trash slash ghetto drama bullshit, right? Okay. And so they're like, well, that's basically the people of Britain at this point. They're like that woman who is going to make excuses for the Muslims who are killing them. Okay. And a lot of people who are like, basically this is going to get worse, right? That this is, even now, this is a baby steps and they won't do anything. So they aren't ever going to do anything. There will never be a pushback. But my answer is there has been pushback. There is. But something that I noticed a while back is that in much of Europe, there are hate speech laws. There are laws that prevent you from being able to criticize government policy. And they say, well, no, this is about preventing racism or about suppressing racism and thoughts of that nature, right? And opinions of that nature, because we can't have that in society. I get that. Meaning, I get what they're saying, right? That they're saying that, but it's just a cover. Okay, it doesn't matter, frankly, either. I mean, you have a right to say whatever you want, even if it's hateful or mean or whatever. A person literally could run around in Nazi memorabilia talking about gassing Jews, and it's legit to do that. In fact, I actually want people to do that, right? So at least I know where you stand. I mean, at least you're being honest. We will judge you based upon the content of your speech, but I don't want to suppress you from saying what you're going to say. Okay, so why would a government try to suppress people? Because that's what's going on. There are limits on what you can say and do in Britain. Okay, that's why you hear all this crazy stuff. And the answer is that the government understands that this is actually a criticism of their policy, and they want to prevent people from criticizing their policy. They want to prevent the rise of any party, any group of people, anyone, anywhere that can prevent what it is they're doing. And what they're doing is importing a voting demographic. It's about political power the same way it's about political power in America. Okay? You have to realize that's something, for instance, the white nationalist crew doesn't get. They're like, oh, it's the Jews. Thought that was I don't know, the closest I can do to the little echo thing that those folks like to do. You have other folks who are like, oh, it's about white genocide. It's about these. I'm like, look, these folks literally don't believe. It isn't like there's a plan. It isn't like they believe what you believe. Okay, they do believe in multiculturalism. They fully believe in it. They don't think this is going to be a problem. They think of this terrorism as like, I don't know, like training wheels or something, but that everything will eventually calm down and there won't be a problem, right? They don't care about the race angle. There is no plot on that level. This is about political power for them. They know how these folks vote. They know how their kids vote. They know the socialists in Europe know that they can probably lock down a permanent one-party state and make it look legitimate by importing voters to vote for them. Okay, they are not interested in handing out nice stuff to the legacy populations of the European countries. Okay, because handing out welfare benefits to old white people who, let's say, hey, their taxes did pay for it, right? Is not something they want to do because those folks demand stuff on a regular basis. Now, and they think that the brown people they're importing won't demand them. Like, oh, just you wait. You think they won't demand anything? Oh, just you wait. They're going to demand all kinds of stuff. It'll probably it will end up in the implosion of your societies one way or another. But we in America, we're not seeing the whole thing. We're not seeing this whole thing properly. When you have a government that suppresses free speech, you can't know what they actually want to do. You can't know what the population really thinks because the population begins to hide their real opinion deep down. Okay? We saw this in the Soviet Union. We saw this in the East, in the communist bloc of Eastern Europe. We saw this in China. Whenever you begin to have a population suppressing dissent, actively suppressing dissent, which is what is going on right now, you can't know who supports what or where. You can't. And so I'm not going to do the whole, oh, well, Britain screwed, they demanded this, they voted for it, so screw them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply make a suggestion, and that is, if you're a European, very simple. If you are a European, look, you don't have a Second Amendment like in America. You can't get some guns and grab the traitors and hang them from lampposts like should be possible, right? You can't do that. Maybe at some point you might be able to convince enough members of the military to do it. You can try to join the military, but then you're going to have to comply with what the government says, or you won't be there for very long, right? Even if you disagree with it. So what do you do as an average everyday European citizen? What is your option? What are your options? What are you going to do? The answer is very simple. You just refuse to comply. That's it. You refuse to comply. You don't pay your taxes. You don't comply with court orders. You force the government to spend as much money on you as possible. Okay, you have to realize at this point, for instance, another thing is the government is literally using European versions of eminent domain to take property. They do it with compensation, okay, but then they literally take where you lived, and they give it to a migrant. It'll literally be your property. You purchased it. The government will pay you for it, but it's going to go to a migrant. Okay, that is not the government saying, oh, well, we need to build a road through here. Here's just compensation so we can demolish your house and put a road through it. No, they're literally just taking your stuff to give to somebody else, and they're taxing you to do it. And you can't do anything about it. And what are you going to do? Go terrorist like the terrorists do? You going to blow up some people? That ain't going to help anything. Literally, violence on others is not the answer here. It really isn't. But direct action is. I mean, you still have to do some form of direct action. Because very clearly, the government has decided you are not allowed to criticize their policies. Okay? They have literally decided that you won't be allowed to do that any longer. So what is the answer? The answer is simple. You don't comply. If they do come to you, if they do say, hey, we need to take your property, we need to give it to these new people who have come here who have not earned it. They haven't earned it. They don't come with money themselves. In fact, they can't even speak our language at all, and they can't read or write in their own, and they have the equivalent of a first grade education, and he's 30, right? Oh yeah, by the way, somehow these refugees, they're not women and children for the most part. 80% of them are dudes, right? Oh yeah, these ones from West Africa, yeah, they're not actually refugees at all. They're just poor, right? They need your house. Burn your house to the ground. I'm not joking. Like literally torch your house. Get your important stuff. Get your family memorabilia, etc. Get it out of your house, right? And frankly, I get a ticket to somewhere else, right? Like I would move out of the country. That's another thing. For right now, Germany, France, you know, England, all of these different countries, right? You can still move. You can still leave. They have not blocked off people's ability to get out of the country. You need to be looking at e-migration. Okay, you may not have, your vote might not count for much at the ballot box, but you can vote with your feet. Look into e-migration. Okay, but yeah, as I said, you know, they say, hey, we need to take your house, burn it to the ground. Okay, and if it is in a heavily condensed urban area, you're worried about harming your neighbors, and you should, destroy your house, demolish it, get sledgehammers and break through the windows, break through the walls, break through the floors, destroy everything you can. Make it so that even if the government gets your property afterwards, they get something that they have to spend tens of thousands of dollars, equivalent of US, I guess tens of thousands of euros or tens of thousands of pounds or what have you, repairing. Okay? Destroy it. If they send you a notice saying, hey, we need to take your property, destroy your property. Don't let them take it. Not without a cost. This is a thing, right? Europe has a set of police states, and because of NATO, because they still have the forms of democracy, because Europe has the ability to make these claims, okay, that they actually do practice freedom, inclusion, and whatever other random bullshit they want to play about, right? Because of that, we act like they don't have police states. We act like they're free, but they're not. They aren't, and they have not been free for a long time. And now the people of Europe are finally beginning to understand. It's very telling that in the wake of this terrorist act, what did Theresa May talk about? She talked about clamping down on the internet. She talked about clamping down on people's freedoms and increasing the state security apparatus. There's a pretty simple answer here. Okay, you know what it is? Kick the Muslims out. Now, maybe you don't like that. Oh, you just said ethnic cleansing. It's not ethnic cleansing, it's religious cleansing, but that's beside the point. Okay, let's say that that's too much. I don't want to kick them out because they're really British somehow, right? Britons who yell out Allah Akbar and then kill people. Okay, all right, let's just not take any more of them. What? We can't do that. Well, yeah, you can. Okay, you don't want to get rid of who's there. I get that. And what's more, you know, where does that end? Okay, well then let's just take the people we have here and now and just not take in any more, and then see where we go from there. Why this desire to increase the size and power of the government? The answer is pretty simple. This was never about the migrants themselves. This was never about immigrants from the former colonies. It was always about political power. And it was about hopefully getting a more compliant population for the elites while maintaining the illusion of democracy. That's always what it was about. Because they think that these former colonial settlers will be more easy to manage than the old white folks who didn't actually have very many kids because they bought into the idea of a welfare state themselves. Okay? They think it'll be easier, and what's more, they believe that these folks that are in the country will be better able to operate within that society that they are creating right now. Now, as I've said, it's clear that that's not the truth. It would be far better to deal with a bunch of angry old white people who are just mad that you can't pay for the bills like you said you would, because socialism really never works in any form, right? What do you think these folks... I mean, this is what I don't get, right, about the political elites of Europe and about quite a few of them in America. You keep on assuming that people from out of the country are going to be so different from people that are in the country. And you know what? They are going to be very different. But the basics are never going to be different. People are still going to want things. People are still going to want to have a meal. They're going to want to eat. And if you offer them the chance to have free things instead of having to work for it, they're going to take the free every single time. But we're supposed to act like that isn't how it works. At any rate, though, I don't know. That's my advice. The government is going to go after you if you're in Europe. They are. They've already proven they are. You have a soft police state. Okay, that's what I would call it. It isn't like you have Stalin purges there. Okay, you have a soft police state. The government finds you and it imprisons you if you make statements they don't want you to make and you criticize their policy harshly. Okay, they go after you. They try to destroy your life financially, but they don't put you in a prison cell, you know, for years and years, feeding you bread and beating you in a tundra somewhere, right? That isn't how it works. They just simply try to put you, give you a stigma of racism, sexism, homophobia, whatever, you know, whatever it is to be, you know, in this case, I suppose, I don't know, racism and Islamophobia or whatever, right? And they fine you. They go after your financials if you're an average everyday citizen. Stop. Just say no. You know what? You're not going to have anything by the time this is all over. So refuse to comply. Don't pay your taxes. Don't show up to court proceedings. Destroy your house if they want to take it away. Destroy your car if they want to take that away. If they want to take things away from you next, because that's what they're going to do. That's a fine always leads to more. Taking a house always leads to more. Their plan is to take from you. Okay? Destroy it before they can use it. Scorched earth. All right. Well, you know, I'm just going to say it again because it's very, 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 very true. Furthermore, I consider Islam must be destroyed.